Good, Jose? Okay. Good afternoon. We'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Bonner-Naylor? Absent. Mr. Collins?
Here.
Ms. Gresham?
Present.
Ms. Hurst?
Believe she's
Present.
on Zoom. Yep.
Present.
Attorney Murphy?
I'm
Present.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Mayor Sarno?
President, if we could all please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. The agenda item today is a vote to approve legal response to an open meeting law complaint. So through the superintendent, I will ask Attorney Phelps, could you please elaborate or clarify?
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the school committee. I'm before you today pursuant to the open meeting law. The open meeting law requires a public body who has received a complaint to meet within 14 business days to review the complaint, consider a response, and then that response is sent to the complainant. It's actually not yet lodged with the Attorney General's office as a complaint because the open meeting law first requires a complainant to correspond with the public body. And if that complainant is not satisfied with the answer, then a formal complaint is filed. So we're in the early stage. There was a complaint filed timely. It must be filed within 30 days of the alleged violation. Her violation is alleged to have occurred on April 24th, 2024. As indicated in the draft document before you, that's actually a typo. The meeting was held on the 25th of April. The complaint was filed by Tara Parrish of the Pioneer Valley Project. And she alleges that there were continued deliberations of the public body following the departure of 4 members of the committee on April 25th, leaving the body without a quorum. And she further alleges that the meeting resumed without a quorum. Under the open meeting law, there is no meeting once a quorum is lost. Therefore, there can be no violation because there is no meeting. I spoke with Attorney Carrie Benedorn of the Attorney General's office. In my conversation with her, she said whatever happened when the quorum was lost is not subject to the open meeting law because there is no meeting under the law. The Attorney General has no jurisdiction for what happens after a quorum is lost. So I have drafted the opinion. I think you all had 48 hours to take a look at it. I summarized the facts after looking at the tape several times for accuracy. Also spoke with Ms. McCarthy and looked at her minutes, which have not been approved by this body. And so they are attached as a draft as well as the complaint. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Attorney
But we
Phelps.
do have to respond today because today is the 14th business day.
Any questions or comments?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Gresham. Yeah.
Thank you. On the time, 50:37 and 55:30, what exact time is that?
Yeah, so that you're referencing the complaint?
The complaint.
Yeah, so Ms. Parrish evidently went and looked at the stream, or it's on file through Focus Springfield and YouTube. It's interesting that those are the times that she identified that the quorum was lost and when she claims the meeting resumed. What's interesting is if you recall, it was just after the public meeting started, the 6:30 meeting. The timing on the Focus Springfield posting includes the public speak out. So the public speak out actually started at 6 to 6:30, so that's 30 minutes, and then the meeting didn't start quite on time. So that's what she's referencing is 50 minutes and 30 seconds into the broadcast. She identified that's when it happened, and then further identified when she claims the meeting resumed at 55:30. I have different times based upon my review of it. I didn't think the timing was so important as to the facts of when a quorum was lost and what happened after the quorum was lost.
Ms. McCarthy, Madam Clerk, could you recognize Ms. Naylor, please? Yes. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, may I ask a few questions,
Sure.
Mayor?
Ms. Hurst, go ahead, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Attorney Phelps, so when, I think it was the meeting before where I had to leave because I had a family emergency, my absence or my,
We can't, Denise, we can't hear you.
Ms. Hurst, can you hold on? I'm having trouble hearing you as well as the members are having trouble.
can you hear me now? Is it better now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So, the school committee meeting prior to the one that we're talking about, I had to leave because I had an emergency. And my absence or my departure meant that the meeting had to cease. Do you recall that?
And you're referencing it as the meeting prior to this one, which would have been April 11th, I believe.
Right, and I'm not quite sure of what the date is. All I know is that at one particular point in time, I had to leave the meeting, and it meant that there was not going to be, that there were not going to be enough people there, a quorum, for us to go on. And for us to continue on would have been a violation of the open meeting law. Is that correct or no?
So I'm going to answer that. If you're referencing the previous meeting, that was the April 11th meeting, and if I remember that meeting, that was when there wasn't a quorum because there wasn't enough members who appeared. I believe that was the boycott meeting. So if...
No, I'm sorry. Let me be clear again. There was a meeting in which, and maybe you weren't there, I'm not sure, where I had to leave. And because I had to leave, it meant that the meeting could not proceed. So we had to stop the meeting. It was not a part of the boycott or any of that. It was just a meeting where I had to leave because I had an emergency. And there were other members that were missing, which meant that in my departure, the body would have lost a quorum.
So without saying that I recall that, I can tell you that once this public body loses a quorum, then no business can be conducted as there is no meeting under the law.
Okay, and so I guess I'm asking you that question because I'm trying to follow the logic for this complaint and for what you've just shared. So when the 4 school committee members got up to boycott the meeting and left, we lost a quorum. So shouldn't the meeting have stopped right then and there?
So the Attorney General's position is there is no meeting once there's loss of a quorum. If a member returns to the public body, as happened when Mrs. Gresham came back within 15 minutes, the meeting then resumed. And the business of the public body was taken up. That is permissible under the open meeting law.
I'm sorry. So there is a time limit that's stated in the law, like 15 minutes?
No, there is not. I was merely referencing it based upon my review of the tape, that it was approximately 15 minutes.
So so I guess I'm trying to get to the point or to understand. The minute that the 4 individuals left the meeting, we lost a quorum, which meant that there could be no meeting, correct?
There could be no business taken up until a quorum was reestablished.
The meeting didn't have to adjourn, or the meeting didn't close, and when that member came back, the meeting be restarted?
According to the Attorney General, no, and that sometimes happens with public bodies, where someone has to step out to take a call, and momentarily there isn't a quorum, and during that time, no official business can be conducted. When the quorum was lost on April 25th, no official business was conducted until a member returned to the chamber and then constituted a quorum.
So I I'm asking this because I'm trying to follow it, and I too went back and watched the tape, and I remember one of the members saying, "We can't keep going, Mayor. We can't keep going, Mayor. We're in violation of the open meeting law. We're in violation of the open meeting law." So what's your take on that then?
That was Mr. Collins, and
Yeah, I know who it was.
he was correct in that there could be no official business conducted, but that was not a violation of the open meeting law. And Mr. Collins was incorrect in saying that, according to the review of the law and my conversations with the Attorney General's office, because there is no meeting. I further will inform the public body that the Attorney General told me that if the complaint were to come in a formal manner after this process to the Attorney General's office, that the answer back to the complainant would be, the Attorney General has no jurisdiction over this matter. They have jurisdiction over public bodies and deliberation. Once, at a meeting, once the quorum was lost, there is no meeting of the public body, and the Attorney General takes the position that they have no jurisdiction to review such a complaint.
So are those the two outcomes before, or potential outcomes before us today? Is that one, this body votes in the affirmative for your opinion, and then it doesn't go to the Attorney General? Or
No.
this body does not
It-
vote for it and it still goes to the Attorney General?
So the business before this public body to this afternoon is to approve or disapprove the response to the complainant. If the body approves it, it is sent to the complainant. Ms. Parrish then decides what she wants to do. If she's not satisfied with the remedial action that is indicated, she can then file a formal complaint with the Attorney General's office. I am informed that the Attorney General, most likely in response, unless there's additional information that's put by Ms. Parrish, will return the complaint to Ms. Parrish and the public body, indicating that the Attorney General has no jurisdiction over what happened after the quorum was lost.
Thank you, Attorney Phelps.
Just one more point, Ms. Hurst. When you're, because due to a family emergency, left and the quorum was lost, if another member had come in to make a quorum, again, public business could be adopted during the time that a quorum is reestablished. So just, which is what happened on the 25th.
Would the meeting have had to restart? So the mayor adjourned and then the meeting would have had to restart, or would they have sat there and waited for the next person to come in if there was indeed somebody that was en route?
Correct. It would not have to restart because there was a quorum for the business that you took up as a member of the quorum, and then another member would take up the business in a quorum after, in the second half of it. You can't extend it for days, but it certainly can be done, as in this instance, when there was a 15-minute gap. Minutes.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Chair Gonzalez?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to appreciate your work on this, Attorney Phelps, on putting together the response to Ms. Parrish's open meeting law complaint. It appears, based on the testimony you've provided to us this afternoon, that there is a gray area in terms of jurisdiction for the Attorney General's office, because according to your interpretation, there was in fact no meeting, therefore they have no jurisdiction. Despite that ambiguity that is presented before us, it is within our jurisdiction to make a rendering on how we do business here. And I intend on giving some clarity. When the four members, including myself, walked out of this chamber, it is my belief that the chairman should have adjourned the meeting. That items on the agenda, including a presentation for a vote on a field trip should have not been taken up and or presented to the body without a quorum present. That is what took place. It was recorded. Furthermore, you then proceeded, Attorney Phelps, to provide testimony on the very ramifications on that field trip, stating along the lines, I don't have word for word, that members of this body were only harming the children. So therefore—
That is incorrect.
Oh, okay, Attorney Phelps, I'm not going to get into a back and forth with you. I have the floor. Furthermore, after this happened, you had 4 people that walked out. The meeting continued. Attorney Phelps provided testimony. The chairman requested that the secretary call members back. A presentation, which was formal business, was handled in that lapse of time. So therefore, despite the ambiguity and the gray space that it may appear that we're in with the Attorney General's office, it is my intention with my position that I will not vote to affirm this legal opinion. The meeting should have been adjourned. There's no quorum. It should have been adjourned at that moment. People can disagree. I'm going to have a no vote this afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
Mr. Mayor,
Vice
may I
Chair.
respond?
Yes, I would like you
Thank
to respond, and I'm going to make a comment also pertaining.
There is no ambiguity with the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General has no jurisdiction with regards to an open meeting complaint when there is no meeting. When the quorum was lost, there is no meeting. And, members of the school committee, I don't make the law. I do, and I have studied it, and I have 39 years of practice. And I wrote a 5-page opinion, having researched, having looked at other AG decisions, and speaking with the Attorney General's office. And if that's not good for the lay members of this body, then the vote would be no, and this would be sent to the complainant for her to decide what to do. But in me, as a good faith, as an officer of the court, as a trained attorney who has practiced municipal law for 39 years, if this opinion is not good enough, you're going to have to do what you have to do, but that is my legal advice.
Thank you, Attorney Phelps. And I'd like to clarify again also, and I want to thank School Committee Woman Barbara Gresham for coming back on deliberation. We had the Central Junior ROTC to go receive national awards that they had to receive the okay to leave tomorrow. You could see the members that were here and some that were in tears. We had nearly 30-something award-winning teachers that we were going to honor that night. And I stood up for the students, Junior ROTC of Central, and for the teachers, the award-winning teachers of our Springfield Public School System. And at that point in time, asked Clerk Patty McCarthy, could you see, and there was no deliberations, could you see if any one of the school committee members would come back? And I'm very thankful that Ms. Gresham came back. We allowed Central Junior ROTC to go on that great trip to receive those national awards, which they had to get it okay because they were going the next morning. And we were able at that point in time, I think it was about 30 teachers, the Grinspoon Awards, to say thank you for their services. So if I had it all over to do it again, I'd do the same thing, standing up for our students and standing up for our teachers, period.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Attorney Murphy.
Well, first of all, I would just say that in my assessment, and having been also an attorney who's both handled open meeting law issues and have been involved in public bodies that have been accused of open meeting law violations, none of which have been upheld.
I'm sorry, I'm having
Peter,
trouble hearing you, Mr. Murphy.
speak
I'm not
up?
sure if your mic is on.
Yeah.
Do I have to re-say that, or?
Yeah, she couldn't hear if you
guys
restate it. Go
Can you
ahead.
guys hear me okay? or-
Can you hear Attorney Phelps?
Latonia says she can hear me. I don't. Anyway, so I am also an attorney, as you know, and I did handle quite a bit of municipal law during the course of my career, including open meeting violations, both as an attorney and as someone who has sat on numerous public bodies. I mean, frankly, when I reviewed the complaint of Ms. Parrish, I thought it was incredibly frivolous, was my initial reaction. because not only was there not a quorum, meaning that we can't vote, we could not vote on anything. It's not like somebody made a motion and we tried to vote on it. I mean, that didn't happen. Nobody did that, and it couldn't happen because there weren't 4 members. And then secondly, there was no, in my view, even if there was theoretically some kind of meeting, which there wasn't, there was no deliberation about a topic that was important, that was voted on. Mr. Tokarz got up, and I mean, unless we were to physically restrain him, he said, we need to have a vote on this. The mayor basically said, can one of the school committee members who walked out come back so we can do this? And Ms. Gresham, very magnanimously, and she said when she sat down, I'm doing this for the children and for the teachers. And we were able to go forward. And I think that was the absolute correct result. I think we acted appropriately in every instance. I think it was a little bit unforeseen that people were going to walk out. I think we were all a little bit shocked and didn't quite know what to do. And then Mr. Tokarz injected his point of view into it, and we tried to remedy that. But no one deliberated about, for example, should they go to New Jersey or should they not go to New Jersey? Or I'm going to potentially, I mean, and most of the open meeting law violations that I've seen include some sort of a meeting that's not posted, that there are more than a quorum of the members, and that they discuss something that is, which is essentially deliberations, which is going to come up at a meeting. I mean, that is clearly a violation. This was not at all the case. I mean, when you look at case law and look at cases where there was a legitimate violation of the open meeting law, you know, that's what it is. There would have been 4 members and we're sort of meeting and talking about an issue that's going to come up, and it wasn't appropriately posted within 24 hours as a meeting. That was not at all the case here, and I just think there was no deliberation, there was no meeting, we couldn't vote on anything, and therefore this is a frivolous complaint, and frankly by somebody who wanted to derail the process and has not been shy about that. So I just think that the decision is absolutely correct. It's our obligation, I think, in my view, to protect this body against frivolous complaints, and I think we should, my 2 cents is I think we should vote for sending this opinion, because the alternative is to say we violated the open meeting law. I mean, we didn't do that. And the Attorney General's office, if they see fit, can look at the video and make a determination for themselves. It's all right there. I think that they'll look at it and say, A, there's no meeting here because they can't vote on anything because there's only 3 members, and B, there was no deliberation. There were some irritated members of the public and of the school department, but that was it. So thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Murphy.
Mr. Chairman,
Any other school committee members who haven't spoken yet like to speak? Vice Chair Gonzalez, please.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to make something abundantly clear, that I find it so disingenuous and disrespectful that members here, including you, Mr. Chairman, suggest that because the item on the agenda had to deal with educators and field trips, that somehow the 4 of us that walked out on a separate matter don't care about the children, and that only you and the folks that stayed here are the only ones that care about the students in this city. I find that disingenuous. I'm going to say something, then I'm going to cease. You don't have to recognize me anymore, Mr. Chairman, aside when we call this roll call vote. You may be able to do this game and these illusions with your other political opponents that have disagreed with you. The difference here in this body is that time and time again, you can count on Josiah Gonzalez showing up, as long as I'm going to sit next to you, and saying what needs to be said. I'm not going to say it in different rooms. We can counter and rebuttal, but I'm not going to tolerate you suggesting that you stayed for the children and that we somehow turned our backs on kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. And again, my statement was stand up for the students of the junior ROTC of Central and the award-winning teachers. I didn't make any statements pertaining to any other school committee members except thanking school committee woman Barbara Gresham. Thank you for your thoughts. Is there a motion on the floor? Mr. Collins?
Thank you.
Sure.
I see that the asking that we return to some type of decorum and treat each other with respect is out the window, obviously.
Started with the press conference in this room.
Now I'm going to call for decorum, Mr. Vice Chair. Mr. Collins has the floor, okay? Thank you very much. Mr. Collins?
I didn't hear what my colleague said. I don't know what he was asking for, but we can disagree, and we do on occasion, but we don't have to be disagreeable. We don't have to attack. We don't have to use comments and tone of voice and voice inflection to show disdain for other members of the committee. Just in a couple of points about what was said. There was an opinion given that you should have adjourned the meeting immediately. If you follow your rules of order at all, you couldn't call for a motion to adjourn because there wasn't a quorum here. So no motion could be put on the floor. So when we make statements, we should base them in rules and fact. A couple of things do stick out. One about the complaint, which I also believe is Attorney Murphy said, is frivolous because we did not take any action while we were out there. But as far as the complaint itself, it's the interesting part of the complaint is what the person who filed the complaint says should happen as remediation. And that's that the chair be not allowed to participate in meetings for the month of May. This happened at approximately the same time that the Pioneer Valley Project held a press conference to question my ability to continue in the meeting, and so did Mrs. Naylor, but Mrs. Naylor did it to my face. So, and it certainly appears to the average person that this was an attempt by an outside agency to manipulate the people who are going to vote on choosing the next superintendent, to eliminate the members who could participate. And we shouldn't allow those things to happen. We are elected to make decisions. We should, whether we agree with each other or not, we can discuss and we can take the votes that we believe. The other thing about this complaint is we are required to give an answer in 14 days. Asking us not to give an answer in 14 days is intentionally trying to violate the process, and that is something that we are not supposed to do as elected officials, and intentionally violate the rules and regulations. And the result of saying not to vote on giving an answer is intentionally trying to violate the process. And that's something, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Attorney Murphy.
So this be a motion to adopt the response to the open meeting law complaint?
Yes.
Is that a fair?
Yes. Motion by Attorney Murphy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Collins. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
No.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
I abstained because I haven't had time to look at the meeting, so I'm abstaining.
Ms. Gresham abstains. Ms. Hurst?
No.
Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
No.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes. I believe that there's a tie vote.
It is a tie
No,
vote.
it fails. Doesn't it fail?
No, I think it's 4-3, Mayor, right?
No.
No.
3 to 4, or I should say.
It's three, it's a tie vote.
Oh,
it's a
because
tie
of
vote.
Ms. Gresham's abstention.
Gresham
All right.
abstained.
Is that a tie, or does that mean that the motion failed?
That's correct.
It does.
The motion failed, which means that we don't adopt it.
That the motion fails, yes. So, as legal counsel, I need to inform you that unless there is a response to the complainant today from this public body, you are in violation of the open meeting law.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Allen.
So we had requested to be able to see the response in advance of the meeting. We did finally get it, I think, yesterday, maybe the day before yesterday, but I know with the superintendent stuff going on, I did not have a chance to thoroughly review it until this morning. And there were some things in it that I did not agree with. And so I felt that if we would have had an opportunity to at least have this conversation before the data was due, that we may have been able to come up with a document that I think you did your part as far as the legal part, so I don't disagree with that aspect of it, but I still felt that there were some things that I did not agree with as far as the reasoning and the response and the things that were taking place, as well as what is considered to be deliberation and not. I also had some feelings about the fact that we have asked our principals numerous times not to put things on the agenda for field trips the day before or the week before within such a short time frame, and they continue to do that. So there's a lot of issues with this, and I just, right now, I can't see myself voting yes for it. And if the Attorney General is going to give the final response, then they're going to say that it's not their business, then I figure they can just do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the
You
last.
stated before that the Attorney General will then just tell her that they have no jurisdiction over it?
Well, the Attorney General will probably then begin an investigation on the fact that this body did not comply with the open meeting law and send a response within 14 days, which is required by law. And that would be an intentional violation by this body.
So if we, just for clarification, if we said we agreed on this, then they would say they have no jurisdiction over this. But if we say that we disagree, then they will do an investigation, is what you're saying.
No. All you're doing and being asked to do is to provide a response to the complainant within 14 days. And that response was drafted by me as your counsel, citing based upon research, based upon prior Attorney General positions or decisions, and a conversation with the Attorney General's office, as well as my experience. If there are portions, and I presume it's with regards to the facts as summarized by me, I'm happy to go through those and look at your concerns regarding my recitation of the facts, which I reviewed on the tape. We don't have the tape before us, and I reviewed with Ms. McCarthy and double-checked with her, as well as the minutes. So I'm happy to do that. I am concerned for this public body that if there is no response within the 14 days, the Attorney General most likely will take that up as an intentional violation of this body.
Thank you.
Could I
Attorney Murphy?
Could I say something? I had a little bit of a difficult time hearing Latonia, but when was this sent out to the members? Do we know?
It was sent out 48 hours in advance, as was requested by the members. So it was sent out Wednesday, Ms. McCarthy, around 11:30, something like that. I remember giving you the attachments around that time.
Okay, so the body has had 2 days to review this opinion, which is 4 pages, right? Or 3.5 pages.
That's
Is that
correct.
right? Okay. And so now we have no response, right? Because the vote is 3-3, so we have no response to the Attorney General's office or to the complainant.
It's a complaint and a copy to the Attorney General's office. Yeah.
So we're on the record as saying there's no response at all from us. Okay. And we have a legal opinion from our attorney drafted that is a response that defends essentially this body against an open meeting complaint. Is that correct?
I would say, based upon the facts of the meeting, based upon my conversation with the Attorney General's office and my research, it states that there was no violation of the open meeting law, no remedial action to take place when the quorum was lost.
Right. Well, so the answer is yes, right?
Yes, the body did not do anything in violation of the open meeting law when the quorum
And
was lost.
so now it's potentially going to be interpreted as a violation. Because of this vote, it's going to be potentially interpreted as a violation of the open meeting law.
The facts of the April 25th meeting, the Attorney General takes the position they don't have any jurisdiction once the quorum is lost. What the Attorney General would probably take attention to is what's happening here today, which the open meeting law requires of the body meet within 14 business days and provide a written response.
Right, so if you could
Yeah.
just answer yes or no, that would be
If I
very
can.
helpful. So there is a because of this vote that we just took today, there is a potential, based upon this vote, that the Attorney General's office is going to find us potentially in violation of the open meeting law.
Of today's activities, yes.
Okay. And it is the recommendation of at least 3 members of this board and our legal counsel that we at least have a response to the complainant in this case, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
That's what the law requires.
And we are blatantly avoiding a response to the complainant in this case, right? Instead of saying, okay, we don't like, sentence number 4, 5, and 6, we're just saying we're not responding. That's all we can say at this point, right?
So far, that's what this body has said. Yep.
Is there,
Mr. Mayor?
I think that's,
Mr. Collins?
Just for a point of clarity, and I, like you, have always said to schools, don't be sending us stuff. But one of the things that we found out was that Mr. Tokars didn't even know, they got the invitation the day before. That's why.
Because it was a competition?
Be-
So it wasn't a trip they planned months ahead of time?
They got the invitation like the day before, so he didn't intentionally try to do that to us. I just wanted to make sure that this is a public meeting. I want to make sure that people understand that.
So if we didn't have a meeting, then what would have happened? If we didn't have a meeting scheduled?
We would have had to
They-
schedule a special
they
meeting
would've-
before the trip.
Either we scheduled a special meeting or they couldn't go, one of the two.
That's helpful, because I did not realize
Yeah,
it
I
was.
didn't
thought
think you
because-
knew that.
Yeah, because I heard them say they were fundraising and all this stuff, and I'm like, how were they fundraising and doing all these things, and they hadn't gotten approval from the school committee, which we have repeatedly, vehemently said to them that is not fair. Is if we had a technical issue or anything, there's a lot of things that could have happened that we could have not had a meeting that day, and we wouldn't have had 48 hours to plan a special meeting if they were leaving the next day. So that was my concern. But if I may, Mr. Mayor, I just want to make a point of clarification that in no way am I saying that we should not respond. What I am questioning is the fact that we asked a week and a half ago or whenever we were notified that we know in advance what the response was. Because if I had a disagreement, I don't have a problem with responding. I have a problem with some of the things that are stated. And I would have gladly said, here are the things that I question. If we could fix X, Y, Z, then I might be saying yes. But because we did not get that opportunity, you're giving us a document that I don't agree and wholeheartedly with, which is what I am not agreeing to. So I am confused by the statement that Attorney Murphy just made, just because I'm wondering how, if we don't agree with a document, why would we vote on it?
well, why can't we do it right now? I
Well,
mean,
that's
here
what
we
I
are,
was gonna
we're all
say.
here. If
Let's
there's a
bring it
problem,
out and go through it.
I mean, we've had 2
I'm
days
sorry.
to look at it. I mean,
Excuse
it's
me,
not like
I'm
War
sorry.
and Peace.
I'm sorry,
It's a 3.5
can I be
page.
recognized to speak?
I understand that, and I just want to finish what I was saying before I was cut off, that I am not saying that it's a long document, but I work a full-time job. I run 2 businesses. I have 4 teenagers. I have a child that's graduating, going to prom this week. I have a lot of responsibilities outside of school committee. And we also spent 10 hours almost of our lives over the last 2 days in meetings. So I don't think it's fair to assume that because we did not have time to look at a 4 or 5 page document that we don't care, or we're not taking concern over the stewardship of what our voters have given us responsibility of. So I want to make that very clear. I'm not sitting at home drinking tea, not doing my job. But I am concerned about a couple of things, and that's why I voted no.
Attorney
Can
Phelps,
I also,
please.
I'm sorry,
Attorney Phelps, please.
If there is a member of the body that has, I guess I'd like a clarification. If in fact it's my recitation of the facts that begins with the April 25, 2024 meeting and then concludes prior to the legal analysis, if it's a problem with any of my good faith attempt to describe what the video shows, if that is cut off, we don't put the facts in, if that's what a member may be concerned about, then we could leave in the legal analysis, conclusion, and the response to the complainant's requested actions. The remedy that was sought is to prohibit the chair from from conducting the meetings. I indicated that that would be in direct violation of a statutory requirement with regards to how this body is established. So if that's the will of this body, to begin the written response with the first 2 introductory paragraphs and then the legal analysis, I'm happy to comply if that will address some of your concerns.
That would absolutely help me. I would feel much better with that.
I'm sorry, can I be recognized, please?
Ms.
To
Hurst,
speak.
go ahead.
Yeah, so this isn't, to have to go through the document right now is not fair. For all of the reasons that Ms. Monroe-Naylor just stated around timing, this came to us a long time ago, right? And so we wait till the 14th day to take it up? Absolutely not. Like, we had enough time, call a special meeting, do whatever it is that we need to do so that we're not bumping up against the 11th hour to turn something in. So right now, the vote has failed. There is no reason, there is no reason for us to revisit this in this moment right now. Many of us did not plan to have to sit here and go through this. You called this meeting at the last minute, which is completely unfair, and now you want us to sit and go through this document, which, when that could have happened with us a long time ago. So here we are, one more time, with you all trying to push something through at the last minute that only benefits a few of us. Absolutely not. Call the question to adjourn this meeting.
What was that?
I think she said.
Second.
To call the question to
Call
adjourn.
the question, adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I'm sorry,
Well,
I
you can't do
didn't
both
hear
in
what
one.
I didn't hear the motion.
To adjourn the meeting.
No.
On the
Call the question and adjourn the meeting.
Call in a question.
You can call the question, that's one motion. You can't do call the question and adjourn in a single motion. If you want to call the question, you can do that, that's perfectly fine. And then we would debate as to whether we want to stop, we would have discussion about whether we want to stop debate and then take a vote. And if the vote is that the question is called, the question's already been voted on.
So
someone can move
I
another
motion that we
question.
adjourn the meeting.
If there's a motion for reconsideration, yes.
Yeah.
So that we can respond and not be in open meeting law violation.
Or with the suggestion to take out the recitation of the facts and begin the response with the legal analysis. I mean,
No,
Point of order.
No, the motion
Mr.
failed.
Mayor, Ms. Hurst made a motion just now. Attorney Phelps proceeded to speak while she made a motion to adjourn the meeting.
motion to adjourn the meeting.
I am seconding that.
I didn't hear the motion. I just wanted to ask
Motion
what
to
the
adjourn the
motion
meeting.
was. If you don't mind, I'd like to hear what it was.
And you
'cause
can.
I didn't hear it.
And you can discuss what was put across, and that's exactly what we're doing right now, as many of the members have done before on motions. Mr. Connell.
It was clear just now that Denise made a motion to adjourn. There was a second. We should discuss and take a vote. So, as to whether we adjourn or not. That should be the proper procedure under our Roberts rules. And if we're in discussion mode, I would like to say I will be voting against adjourning when I believe that there's a possibility for us to sit here and make amendments to this document as Latonia suggested, and perhaps be able to send a response to the person who filed and to the Attorney General and not put ourselves in violation. So I'm going to vote against adjourning the meeting when there's a chance that we could still do this and not intentionally violate the open meeting law ourselves.
Could I follow up on that, Mayor, also? I
Attorney
mean, I would
Murphy.
agree with Mr. Collins. I'm going to vote no on the motion to adjourn. I think it's our obligation as school committee members to respond to an open meeting law complaint in some fashion. This document took me about 4 minutes to read. It is not particularly complicated. We've had it for 24 hours. My understanding is the late date of the meeting was because certain individuals were potentially unavailable, and Ms. McCarthy made the date as soon as she could. We're all here. We're perfectly capable of responding to an open meeting law violation, so my vote would be not to adjourn and to not put this body in jeopardy of violating the open meeting law just because we don't want to spend the time to review and potentially change the response.
That's not true, Attorney Murphy. We received the formal complaint from Tara Parrish from Pioneer Valley Project in our emails. We got it. We didn't hear a thing until Patty called us and said last week and said, "Can you be at a meeting on Friday?" She called us at the end of the week to ask if we could be at a meeting on Friday. We didn't hear anything. It was complete crickets from the time that we received the complaint in our emails from the complainant themselves. We didn't hear a word. So there's no way that did not happen. There was no reach out to say, "Hey, we got this complaint. How soon can you all meet?" None of that. And on top of that, we were in the middle of everything else, and we could have easily put this on any other agenda or called a special meeting, and we didn't. We waited until the 11th hour. We waited until the 11th hour to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is, we're not sending a man to the moon here.
I am out of
I mean,
the state at an
Attorney
event.
Murphy, just let Ms. Hurst has the floor.
I made it very clear from the moment that we had the meeting where we were vetting the superintendent process that I would not be in the Commonwealth on Friday the 31st, that I was not going to be available because there was even talk about pushing back the superintendent timeline search to figure things out. And I made that very clear. And then the minute Patty called and said, "Can you be available on Friday?" I said, "I can't be available on Friday, Patty." But when I saw that it still got put on the agenda, I did what I had to do to be here for this. We've taken the vote. It is not my fault or anybody else, or I don't know whose fault it is, but it's not my fault, and nor any of the members who have had other things that they have to do today have to sit and go through something because someone waited until the 11th hour to figure this out. No, and then to give us a response that they knew that we weren't going to be happy with. You knew that we weren't going to be happy with it.
What is the,
Well, can I
that's
just
what I'm
make-
not hearing, the
can I just
substantive
make a-
complaint about the
Yeah,
letter.
can I just make a comment here? When these complaints or a legal question comes in, legal counsel has to take the time to research, to make the outreach, to put across a document, and when the document is ready, that's when it comes before the body. So
Well, I'm
that's-
sorry that
that's
we have to
exact-
plan
that's
for
what-
the fact
exactly
that
what
you
attorney-
can't bring
I
it to
have the
us on the
floor
last
right now,
day.
Ms. Hurst.
You can't bring
But
it to us on the last day.
That's exactly what Attorney Phelps did. And I think what we're trying to point out here is that we have a response, which we're obligated to put in. Now, if we don't do it, we ourselves, because of this meeting, or some school committee members, are putting ourselves in violation of the open meeting law. Now, we're putting ourselves in violation of the open meeting law. When we have a response, or if it's an amended type response, this could solve this situation moving forward.
Mr. Chairman,
Excuse me, Attorney Murphy, Attorney Phelps, is the complaint against the whole body or against one member of the body?
It is a complaint against the whole member, against the public body, citing the actions of the chair after the quorum was lost. But you cannot bring a public meeting complaint against an individual of a public body. It is against the public body.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to move the question on adjournment.
Yes.
Motion made, Madam, and it has been seconded. Well, the motion was already made and seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the
Just
adjournment.
a point of clarity here.
Yeah,
There was a call for adjournment, and there was a second. We're in discussion.
Yep.
So the only thing that you can call is whether we're going to adjourn or not after listening to people. But we can't introduce a new motion. There was a
There was already a
motion on the
motion on the
floor, and the motion was seconded to adjourn.
Mrs. Gresham?
Ms. Gresham, I'm sorry.
yeah, that was my question, to get clarity on what was, because we had two motions on the floor.
I don't think, did we have two motions? I don't think we did.
The current motion
May I
is-
ask a question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Clarifying question, Attorney Phelps. So I want to make sure I'm understanding this. We have to respond legally. It's our requirement that we have to respond within 14 days.
The law requires a response within 14 business days to the complainant with a copy to the Attorney General's office.
And today is the last day of the 14 business days?
Today is the 14th business days. There were meetings by this body, as you know, this week. The holiday was on Monday. It took a while for the Attorney General's office to get back to me on my inquiry. The request in an email back from a member indicated that the request was to have my legal opinion 48 hours in advance. I did comply with that request to this public body.
And if we do not respond, you said that the complaint is a complaint against the entire body. So what does that mean? What does the consequence look like?
From the Attorney General's point of view, because the law requires a public body to meet within 14 business days and to provide the complainant a response. The complainant is entitled to a response under the law. Failure to do so, you would have ticked one box. You did meet to discuss and review the complaint. The second requirement under the law would have been intentionally violated if, in fact, this body adjourns without providing a response to the complainant. I can't say what the Attorney General will do, but certainly it is a legal requirement for this body to respond.
Is it possible, and this is just me playing whatever, I don't like to say devil's advocate, but whatever another term is for that, is it possible that a response could be that there was no response? Or that there was no agreement on a response? I'm just wondering, like, a response is responding. Does it mean that it has to be in this format of what you've included in this context or the content?
Sure. If I may read directly from the law.
I'm sorry, I'm just having a little bit of a difficulty. Did you say, can we ask for extension of the time?
No, I was just wondering, like, what does the content have to be as a response, right? Because we have to give a response.
I'm just having a little bit of a difficult time hearing you. I'm not trying to argue. I thought you had asked to see if we could call the Attorney General's office and say, can we have another week to respond or something?
That's another question that I did not think of, but maybe that's a good question.
I just thought that's what you said, or something to that effect.
Maybe your attorney brain was saying that, because I didn't say that.
I misheard what you said, that's all.
Attorney Naylor, excuse me.
Attorney Naylor.
Your legalese now. Ms. Naylor has the floor. Attorney Phelps?
Ms. Naylor, the Section 5 says, "The public body shall meet to review the complainant's allegations." That's what you're doing today. 2, take remedial action if appropriate. And 3, send the complainant a response and a description of any remedial action taken. The body shall simultaneously notify the Attorney General that it has sent such materials to the complainant and shall provide the Attorney General with a copy of the complaint, the response, and a description of any remedial action taken.
So what do, I don't, is it appropriate to ask a question here? Because what do we do now? We just do nothing? We just ignore that? Is that what we do? We wait till midnight tonight and there's no response at all? Is that?
If the public body adjourns without a response, there is no response to the complainant or to the Attorney General.
Mr. Chairman, can we call the vote to adjourn?
Any other comments or discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I just feel very uncomfortable with us not doing our due diligence as school committee members. I understand that we don't have an agreement on the content here, and I'm trying to identify what would be a pathway of us being able to respond without violation, but still find a common thread. I did like Attorney Murphy's suggestion of if we could see if we can get an extension, especially in light of the fact that we're in the middle of a superintendent search and things of that nature. Maybe that can be a way to try to remedy, to provide some sort of a response so that we're not in a place where we just have not responded at all.
Could you clarify that, Attorney Phelps?
Am I being directed to call the Attorney General's office? Is that what the public body is doing, to seek an extension?
I mean, I think it makes more sense than having no response at all. I mean, I think we should respond, but if we're not going to respond, then why don't we, how much time do we need? I mean, you know, if another week, a couple of days, I mean, I don't know.
We have graduations for the next 2 weeks, people, don't forget.
Yep.
Every night.
You really, there's three sort of options here. Again, if you adjourn the meeting, there's no response or in violation of the open meeting law. If there is a call and the AG allows, I don't know if AG Campbell will allow that. Or three, if there's something with accepted a reconsideration vote or amending it a little bit, that way we don't, as a body, fall into an open meeting law that we are, causing right now. But could you clarify, again, Attorney Phelps on, or the body, that you want Attorney Phelps to call the AG with the extenuating circumstances, or what? I mean, it's statute says, but you have to respond in 14 days.
There would have to be some direction from this public body given to me to do that by a motion, or to make sure it's the will of the body. I know there's a pending motion to adjourn that is currently, I guess, being discussed. I don't know if the public body has decided whether the suggestion to take out the recitation of the facts and leave the legal analysis is an option for this public body. I know there is an attorney on the public body who has opined with regards to the veracity and the analysis as being accurate. I have, as your attorney, made the representation in defending you that there was no violation of the open meeting law in the actions taken on April 25th. So that certainly is also an option for this body to consider.
But you are, I mean, if it's looking to be amended, the fact's sufficient there indicating the whole scope of it. I mean, if you start taking stuff out, that takes away from what occurred and what didn't occur.
Well, the complainant has a version of what occurred, and this is...
And this is this...
Having watched the tape probably 5 or 6 times and spoken with Ms. McCarthy, it's again, as an officer of the court, my good faith effort to be as accurate as possible. I did not use any names of members in my response out of respect for all of you. I refer to you as a member, or 3 members, or 4 members. So I believe it is an appropriate recitation of the facts, but if that's the stumbling block, then I see that a third way could provide a written response,
Can
and
I-
that is
Attorney-
just the legal
Attorney
analysis.
Phelps, but you indicated in the original complaint that some of the information was incorrect. So
Yes.
you have to, as a body, we have to address that.
Yeah, I think I did in the first two paragraphs indicated that the date was wrong, which is really
And there were
one of the
some
key.
other aspects of it, too. So, I mean, yep.
I did not dispute her 50-minute, 37 seconds, because, again, that wasn't the substance of the complaint as to when or how long it occurred. It was whether or not there was a violation once the quorum was lost. That is the legal issue.
So the three things, well, there was a motion on the floor, whether that motion's withdrawn. If there's an amended version one, or the school committee, or there's a motion, or we vote to adjourn, or the directing our council to give the AG's office a call looking for a short extension.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Gresham, yeah.
Attorney Phelps, so how long would it take you to get in touch with Carol? Was it, what's her name?
Carrie,
Carrie.
I don't know. I can give her a call. I don't know if she's the person that can grant those extensions. I just am scratching my head if there is a concern by certain members of the body regarding the legal analysis, then that should be clearly stated. And, you know, you have two attorneys who here are saying that is the analysis for this response. So I'm kind of scratching my head about why that is not a sufficient response that would be in compliance with the law, and to which, frankly, the complainant is entitled to a response.
Attorney Phelps,
Mr. Mayor.
or Mayor,
Mr.
may I,
Collins.
to response to Attorney
Mr.
Phelps?
Collins has the floor. Mr. Collins, go ahead.
There is a motion on the table with duly seconded. I call the question.
Okay.
Now, that's non-debatable.
Yep.
That means we vote
Yep.
whether or not to stop debate, and then you take a vote on the adjournment.
That's correct.
All right, motion on calling the question. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms.
I'm sorry, can I
Monroe-Naylor?
have clarification? What's this motion on? What are we voting on?
I made a motion to call the question, which is a non-debatable motion. The vote, and if we vote to call the question, if that passes, then we immediately go and take a vote on adjournment. But the motion to call the question is non-debatable. You have to either vote to call the question or not to call the question.
So,
And calling it, I'm sorry,
Call
calling
the
the question
That stops debate.
stops debate.
Then you
All right.
take a vote on whether to adjourn or not. You go back to the motion.
Go back to the motion, okay.
So we're not-
A yes is to call the question.
A yes would be to call the question, correct.
so we're not able to respond to the question that Mr. Mayor just proposed until after we vote on whether or not to adjourn?
That's correct. It stops all discussions.
All discussion stops.
And then we can go back to voting to adjourn or not.
Or whether or not to adjourn.
Depending upon the vote on the call to question.
So just maybe clarification, a no vote can continue the discussion. A yes vote means you got to vote on adjournment.
A
Is
yes
that
vote
clarified?
means that
Question is called,
the question is called,
And,
no debate.
and then you go right into the roll call for the motion.
yeah.
No additional discussion. That's what calling the question is.
So is everybody clarified on the vote? If you vote no, we can continue moving forward on discussion. If you vote yes, then we move on the adjournment. Am I correct on that?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
But before that, Mr. Mayor, did
Well,
Mrs. Hurst have a comment?
The question's been called.
Yeah.
Call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Monroe-Naylor?
No.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Oh, I was.
Yes.
Ms. Hurst?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Attorney Murphy?
No.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
No.
Matter passes, doesn't it? There's 4 of us that said yes.
I think we had
I think
4
it's
no's.
4-3.
The calling the question was voted affirmatively, so now it's a motion to adjourn.
Well, no, wait a minute. It was Latonia.
Yes, it was.
Myself,
No,
the mayor.
That's
Oh,
it.
okay.
That's 3.
I'm wrong. You're right. You're right.
The motion,
Mr. Collins, Ms. Gresham, Ms. Hurst, and Mr. Gonzalez voted affirmative.
Right.
Now we got to call the vote to adjourn.
Call the vote, Madam
call.
Clerk.
Is there,
Is there a motion? Well, there was already a motion on the floor.
same.
Yeah. Yep.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
No.
Mr. Collins?
no.
Ms. Gresham?
Abstain.
Ms. Hurst?
Yes.
Attorney Murphy?
No.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
No. To tie vote again.
No. The motion to adjourn failed.
Yeah, because it's,
4, okay, yes. Even with
Yeah, the motion
Ms.
to
Naylor,
adjourn
that's right.
failed, so
Thank
we
you
are
for the
still in
clarification, my
discussion.
fault, yeah.
It's 4 noes,
4,
2
yes,
yeses,
three.
and 1 abstention.
Yeah.
So it's 4
So
to
the
2.
motion to adjourn failed. We're still in the meeting. We still can have discussion.
I asked if I could be recognized, please.
Yes, Ms. Hurst?
So, Attorney Phelps, I wanted to respond to you and the part around what is the issue with the response. I just want to make sure that you all know, my colleagues know, and the viewing public know and understand that I do believe there was a violation of the open meeting law. The minute the 4 of us got up, the meeting should have closed and nothing else further should have taken place. That is where my issue stands. I actually support the complaint that Tara Parrish put through, and I will leave the rest to you all, but I'm exiting the meeting. But that is where I stand.
Chairman.
We were in violation.
Vice Chair Gonzalez?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just would like to state that at this time, I agree with the comments of the last speaker. I also have another obligation. It appears that the majority of this body would like to continue in deliberation on a matter that I'm not in favor of. Ms. McCarthy, if you could just please note that I have to go due to another obligation. Thank you all, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Okay, we're at, once again, the options there. If there's a amending of the, we accept, there's a reconsideration vote, we accept our legal counsel's opinion, 1. 2, if there's some amending within reason, or 3, a call to the AG's office, which does not guarantee us that we are not putting ourselves in violation of the open meeting law. For discussion? Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. So Attorney Phelps, when would you make that call? Could you make that call now to see if you can get through for an extension?
I don't know if I have her number with me. That could be back at the office. I think I'd like to have a vote of the remaining members to instruct me to do that. Because I
Okay.
think a record, it's important to create a record of your actions. So if
Is
that's
there-
the will of the body, then
Is that a motion by you, Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Motion by Ms. Gresham, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Attorney Murphy. Roll call vote is required, Madam
What
Clerk.
is the motion?
The motion is
Giving her
for
permission
Attorney Phelps, our legal counsel, to call the AG's office to get clarification on one option that, if it can be granted, if not, then we have to look at the other 2 options.
so my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that we would be requesting perhaps some additional time to
Yes,
respond.
that's it, the call.
because I've
And
already,
then everyone can have as much time as they like to review the decision and to make changes as they see fit.
because I've already made that call previously to the Attorney General's office asking for their guidance.
Yeah, which they.
Based upon what happened here today, there's some
So,
dispute about,
motion made by Ms. Gresham. Patty, you hear the motion, seconded by Attorney Murphy. So
The problem, before we take a vote,
Mr. Collins.
under discussion, if there's no, if she can't get through? How long are we going to wait? You know, are we taking recess? I mean, we need to know what it is we're voting on, because my guess is, I've called a number of times recently, you don't get someone to pick up the phone right away. So we're probably not going to get an immediate answer. But I'm certainly
I think
willing to
it's
have her
fair.
try.
I think it's willing, it's, you know, we should try.
I'm certainly willing to let her try calling.
Right, I mean,
have
at
no
least we'd
problem
be
with
on
that.
record as requesting some additional time.
So what, if,
Right.
well,
And
we have to
that
vote.
is a response in some
We have to
fashion.
vote on it, then if we have to, we can take a short recess to see if there's any direct contact right off the bat.
Well,
And-
I have a little issue too, Mayor, not to, I have to pick up my son at school, so.
All right, then why don't, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
If I.
Yes,
could-
Attorney, oh,
You know, I've indicated that not only did I do research, and I spoke with the Attorney General's office for guidance, I also spoke with Melissa Shea, who has done municipal work, Attorney Shea, and I spoke with Attorney Tom Moore in the City Law Department, going through this scenario, and with another retired judge. We can't all be wrong. And I just want to indicate to this body that Attorney Murphy, me, Attorney Moore, Attorney Melissa Shea, again, we are all experienced municipal attorneys who have made the representation to this body that there was, you know, I'm defending you. There was no violation of the open meeting law. And my legal analysis is based upon all of that information. And so members may, who don't have law degrees and think that they can offer an opinion, I question how that will be perceived if there is not a response from this body today by the Attorney General's office. But if that's the will of the public body, I'm happy to try and reach her. I do have her number because I did call her on my cell phone and see if she picks up. And again, I can't make the representation that she is the one that can grant those extensions.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
yeah, it is. So, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst?
She's gone.
She
She
left.
said she left.
Attorney Murphy?
Yes,
Mr. Gonzalez? Absent. Mayor Sarno?
Yes, one is Fisher votes matter.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we take a 10-minute recess to give her time to do that.
There's a motion on the floor to take, Ms.
And let me just remind that there cannot be a deliberation among a quorum of the members
That's why I'm
during the
asking
recess.
for a 10-minute recess.
But during the recess, there can't even be
No
deliberation among
deliberation.
a quorum.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to take a brief recess.
How much time am I asking for? A week?
I don't know. I mean, anything's fine with me.
So that means the public body has to come back sometime next week when there are graduations
Yes.
and scheduling issues.
In the morning, noontime.
Okay, a motion to take
Motion
a
to take, yeah, to take a
recess,
10-minute
short
recess.
recess? Could you,
Motion to take a 10-minute recess?
or
Yeah.
a short recess? Motion made by Mr. Collins, or
Second.
Say it again?
Second.
Second by Ms. Naylor. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst? Absent. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez? Absent. Mayor Sarno?
Yes, one is Fisher votes matter passes. I got a 1:30. Let me just go let them.
This is ridiculous. Oh, bless you.
Big jug. You said that. They were at the elementary.
We all set? I can call it back to order?
Yep.
Okay. We'll go back in session, please, Josue. Yeah, thank you very much for your patience and understanding. We're back in session. Attorney Phelps, can you give us some clarity or clarification or update on that AG's call?
Thank you, Mayor. I did place a call. I had Ms. McCarthy as my witness that I did make the phone call. I left a voicemail message. It appears that the number that I was provided by Carrie and that I reached her previously is the attorney for the day phone number. I left a message asking what the subject matter was, that it was a recess during a meeting, and if they could get back to me. I have not received a response, so
But
I don't.
We don't know how long that could be.
That's correct.
They don't call till the end of the
Okay.
day, at least.
So, as we wait maybe a few minutes, again, the options would be, I know Ms. Naylor brought up about possibly some slight adjustments or a vote for reconsideration so we're able to respond to the complaint and on the facts. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor, Josue informed me that my report back to the body was not picked up for the
Okay.
broadcast, and he requested,
Yes.
pursuant to your approval, that I
Okay.
repeat it.
Yes, we had some technical difficulties with Focus Springfield. We always appreciate their efforts. Now we are on, so we're going to ask Attorney Phelps restate her call to the Attorney General's office. Please, Attorney Phelps.
So as the body requested, I placed a call to the number that I was provided when I asked the Attorney General for guidance. It was a recording. I left a voicemail message. I had Ms. McCarthy as my witness that I made the call, and indicated that what was the subject of the call, seeking an extension. I indicated that the meeting was ongoing, that there was a recess taken for me to make the call, and requested a call back. I have not received a call back, so I don't know how long this body would like to wait.
Thank you, Attorney Phelps. So again, just let me reiterate, it'd be a short waiting period and/or, again, we look to accept what our legal counsel and other legal scholars have put across us so we can respond, or if there's a slight amendment of the response. That way, we do not put this whole body in violation of the open meeting law by not responding at our meeting right now.
I have a suggestion,
Sure.
if I may.
Yes.
There could be, if the board, if my legal analysis, as well as the other attorneys I consulted with and the Attorney General's guidance, is not sufficient for this board to endorse my legal analysis, then I would suggest that there be authorization for me to send to the complainant and a copy to the Attorney General. One, that the body met from 12:30 to almost 2 o'clock. And that there was no agreement with regards to a response or remedial action. I don't know what the Attorney General would do with that, but at least it is a response. Clearly, the preference would be for a thorough legal response that is before the members of this body to respond to the complainant and to the Attorney General.
Thank you, Attorney Phelps. Well, that's an option too, but again, to my colleagues, what occurred is we did not deliberate. We were able to help out that junior ROTC Central to go on their award trip, which they just received notice the day before, I believe. And we were able to, Ms. Gresham coming back, which I deeply appreciate, we were able to honor the Grinspoon award-winning teachers. In that short period of time, that's what occurred when we had a quorum. So, Ms. Gresham, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Attorney Phelps, Your response, would that be through email? You will respond through email, or?
Yes, the Ms. Parrish filed by email, so I would certainly, I'd have to go back and look exactly what the requirements are. The portion I read just has said to respond, but it certainly, I don't think I have her address, but I certainly do have her email, and that's how she corresponded with the public body. With the Attorney General's office, there is a specific address to send the response to.
But if you have it, again, if we're able to respond, we take away the current potential, the open meeting law violation that we have now.
Well, there is no
If we
violation.
respond, yeah, that's.
Any response will take away? Is that
But-
what you're saying?
I can't say that for certain because of the way the statute is written. It does satisfy the requirement of holding a meeting and providing a response. It doesn't address the body's opinion with regards to whether or not there's an open meeting violation, and it doesn't address whether there was remedial action. And those are, the three elements of that statutory provision. So it's something, but it's not fully compliant, and I can't make a representation of what the Attorney General would do.
But it would be better to make some type of response than no response at all, correct?
It would be best to respond to the legal analysis and the remedial action as I drafted. I cannot opine whether it's better or not. The law, again, I don't make the law.
Right.
You all have to follow the law.
Right.
And the law requires, as I read it.
And again, I don't think there was any ill intent. We were just trying to help out those students and those teachers. So, and again, Ms. Gresham, I appreciate it. So I don't mean any ill intent with any of the school committee members. But the point is, we have a response. We need to respond. If we don't respond, then we ourselves have put ourselves in open meeting law violation by not following.
We don't want to do that.
Right, because we
wanna do
created,
that.
so I mean, if there's a,
So.
go ahead, Ms. Gresham.
Can we make a motion again to send something to?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, Mayor, I don't want to, I got to pick up my son at Putnam. But if there is going to be a motion, I'm happy to vote on something to the extent of what Barbara is saying, that we respond in some fashion.
Well, is there, let me just, is there a motion to reconsider so we can send the legal
Sure,
response?
I'll make the motion that we reconsider the vote.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor. So, why don't we, let's call the, to some reconsideration. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez, absent. Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more than sufficient vote, this matter passes. So do we need another, you're able to send the response then?
So as I understand, the motion that was just passed is to send the response that I crafted, gave 48 hours in advance of the 12:30 meeting today. Is that correct?
And the complainant has it, and then the AG would get it. If there's something subsequently to that, fine, we'll address it. If not, then we, as Ms. Gresham said, we don't, and Ms. Naylor, thank you, we don't put ourselves in violation of open meeting law. So that's the point. So that's been, thank you on the reconsideration. At this point in time, I know you got to pick up, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Attorney Murphy, is there a second? Second, Jesus.
You guys don't want to adjourn?
It's good to see us laughing a little bit. Okay, listen, there was a second by Mr. Collins. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez, absent. Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more than sufficient vote, matter passes. Thank you very much for watching. Good health and God bless.
Murph, good to see you.
Attorney Phelps, thank you for all your hard work.